Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 16, a description of Jambudvipa, text 26 to 29, chapter 17, the descent of the river Ganges, text 1, text 26. There are other mountains beautifully arranged around the foot of Mount Meru like the filaments around the whorl of a lotus flower. Their names are Kuranga, Kurara, Kusumbha, Vaikanka, Trikuta, Shishira, Patanga, Pruchaka, Nishadha, Sinivasa, Kapila, Shankha, Vaidurya, Jarudhi, Hamsa, Rishabha, Naga, Kalanjara, and Narada. Text 27. On the eastern side of Sumeru mountain are two mountains named Jathara and Devakuta, which extend to the north and south for 18,000 yojanas, 144,000 miles. Similarly, on the western side of Sumeru are two mountains named Pavana and Pariyatra, which also extend north and south for the same distance. On the southern side of Sumeru are two mountains named Kailasa and Karavira, which extend east and west for 18,000 yojanas. And on the northern side of Sumeru, extending for the same distance east and west, are two mountains named Trishranga and Makara. The width and height of all these mountains is 2,000 yojanas, 16,000 miles. Sumeru, a mountain of solid gold, shining as brilliantly as fire, is surrounded by these 8 mountains. Text 28. In the middle of the summit of Meru is the township of Lord Brahma. Each of its 4 sides is calculated to extend for 10 million yojanas, 80 million miles. It is made entirely of gold, and therefore learned scholars and sages call it Shatakaumbi. Surrounding Brahmapuri in all directions are the residences of the 8 principal governors of the planetary systems, beginning with King Indra. These abodes are similar to Brahmapuri but are 1/4 the size. Purport. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura confirms that the townships of Lord Brahma and the 8 subordinate governors of the planetary systems, beginning with Indra, are mentioned in other Puranas. Brahma's township is known as Manovati, and those of his assistants such as Indira and Agni are known as Amravati, Tejovati, Samyamani, Krishnangana, Shraddhavati, Gandhavati, Mahodaya, and Yashovati. Brahmapuri is situated in the middle, and the 8 other Puris surround it in all directions. Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th canto, 16th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled A Description of Jambudvipa. Chapter 17, the descent of the river Ganges. The 17th chapter describes the origin of the Ganges river and how it flows in and around Ilavrata Varsha. There is also a description of the prayers Lord Shiva offers to Lord Sankarshana, part of the quadruple expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Vishnu once approached Bali Maharaja while the king was performing a sacrifice. The Lord appeared before him as Trivikrama or Vamana and begged alms from the king in the form of 3 steps of land. With 2 steps, Lord Vamana covered all 3 planetary systems and pierced the covering of the universe with the toes of his left foot. A few drops of water from the causal ocean leaked through this hole and fell on the head of Lord Shiva, where they remained for 1,000 millenniums. These drops of water are the sacred Ganges river. It first flows onto the heavenly planets, which are located on the soles of Lord Vishnu's feet. The Ganges river is known by many names such as the Bhagirathi and the Jahnavi. It purifies Dhruvaloka and the planets of the 7 sages, because both Dhruva and the sages have no other desire than to serve the Lord's lotus feet. The Ganges river, emanating from the lotus feet of the Lord, inundates the heavenly planets, especially the moon, and then flows through Brahmapuri atop Mount Meru. Here the river divides into 4 branches known as Sita, Alakananda, Chakshu, and Bhadra, which then flows down to the ocean of salt water. The branch known as Sita flows through Shekhara Parvata and Gandhamadana Parvata, and then flows down to Bhadrashva Varsha, where it mixes with the ocean of salt water in the west. The Chakshu branch flows through the Malayavan Giri, and after reaching Ketumala Varsha, mixes with the ocean of salt water in the west. The branch known as Bhadra flows onto Mount Meru, Mount Kumuda and the Nila. Shweta and Shangavan mountains before it reaches Kuru Desha, where it flows into the ocean of salt water in the north. The Alaknanda branch flows through Brahmalaya and crosses over many mountains, including Hemakuta and Himakuta, and then reaches Bharatavarsha, where it flows into the southern side of the ocean of salt water. Many other rivers and their branches flow through the 9 Varshas. The tract of land known as Bharatavarsha is a field of activities, and the other 8 Varshas are for persons who are meant to enjoy heavenly comfort. In each of these 8 beautiful provinces, the celestial denizens enjoy various standards of material comfort and pleasure. A different incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead distributes His mercy in each of the 9 Varshas of Jambudvipa. In the Ilavrata Varsha, Lord Shiva is the only male. There he lives with his wife, Bhavani, who is attended by many maidservants. If any other male enters that province, Bhavani curses him to become a woman. Lord Shiva worships Lord Shankarshana by offering various prayers, one of which is as follows. My dear Lord, please liberate all your devotees from material life and bind all the non-devotees to the material world. Without your mercy, no one can be released from the bondage of material existence. Text 1. Shukadeva Goswami said, My dear King Lord Vishnu, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, appeared as Vamanadeva in the sacrificial arena of Bali Maharaja. Then he extended his left foot to the end of the universe and pierced through a hole in its covering with the nail of his big toe. Through the hole, the pure water of the causal ocean entered this universe as the Ganges river. Having washed the lotus feet of the Lord, which are covered with reddish powder, the water of the Ganges acquired a very beautiful pink color. Every living being can immediately purify his mind of material contamination by touching the transcendental water of the Ganges. Yet, its waters remain ever pure. Because the Ganges directly touches the lotus feet of the Lord before descending within this universe, she is known as Vishnupadi. Later, she received other names like Jahnavi and Bhagirathi. After 1000 millenniums, the water of the Ganges descended on Dhruvaloka, the topmost planet in this universe. Therefore, all learned sages and scholars proclaim Dhruvaloka to be Vishnu Pada, situated on Lord Vishnu's lotus feet. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, Shukadeva Goswami describes the glories of the Ganges river. The water of the Ganges is called Patita Pavani, the deliverer of all sinful living beings. It is a proven fact that a person who regularly bathes in the Ganges is purified both externally and internally. Externally, his body becomes immune to all kinds of disease, and internally, he gradually develops a devotional attitude towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Throughout India, many thousands of people live on the bank of the Ganges, and by regularly bathing in her waters, they are undoubtedly being purified both spiritually and materially. Many sages, including Shankaracharya, have composed prayers in praise of the Ganges. And the land of India itself has become glorious because such rivers as the Ganges, Yamuna, Godavari, Kaveri, Krishna, and Narmada flow there. Anyone living on the land adjacent to these rivers is naturally advanced in spiritual consciousness. Srila Madhvacharya says, Arahe Vama Padam Tu Tad Anyeshu Tu Dakshinam Padam Kalpeshu Bhagavan Ujjahara Trivikramaha. Standing on his right foot and extending his left foot to the edge of the universe, Lord Vamana became known as Trivikrama, the incarnation who performed 3 heroic deeds.